Hey there. Yeah, sorry we had a problem with our data. So let's just carry on here. I did come across the stuff that I was missing from before um, about Nina or Nana. Here we are. When they spoke of who it was that formed the people of the earth with the guiding help of Namu, and who it was that directed brother slash husband Enki to feed the people she had made, and who it was that watched as Enki attempted to make people of his own, and thus produced such a feeble being that it could not walk and could not talk and could not even reach its hand out to take the bread that had been offered. And who it was that, seeing this cursed Enki for the sorrow he had brought by trying to fashion human life when it was not his natural work to do, they said that her name was Ninma. When they looked upon her as the holy mountain that rose from the primeval waters, the wild cow that came in the beginning and shattered the very air with her presence as regent of heaven and earth, shattered the very air. Sounds like something very cold. And when they stood before her shrine at Al Ubaid, where the winged lionesses guarded from above, while images of her sacred herd of cattle were marked in ivory on her blue mosaic wall. And when they remembered that it was she who first gave birth to the healing plants that Enki ate in greed as soon as she had birthed them, and when they remembered who it was that then placed the gravely ill Enki by her sacred vulva until she brought forth 8 deities of healing, each born without any pain of labor, so that the greedy Enki was soon cured of his illness. They said that her name was Ninhursag. So we can see the kind of guy that Enki used to be. You know, he was greedy, he was selfish, he was arrogant. He made people. He tried to make his own people, saying, I am God. This is not how it happened. He wasn't the God that he wanted to be. And those beings died because he didn't have the spirit that he could give them. Okay, then there was something else here. And right. And here, okay, here we are, Ningal and Nikal. She who held the sovereignty while husband Nanar was a priest, and they cried because she could no longer watch over her, and because I'll try, Enheduanna, who had once interpreted her messages, was no longer able to convey her messages. They said her name was Ningal or Nikal. Yet when they stood where the 2 rivers met and poured into the wide gulf that led into the sea, and knew her at the settlement of Eridu as the oldest one, serpent goddess of the oracles, mistress of unfathomable decrees, interpreter of dreams, prophetess of deities, she who assigned the destinies of lives while swimming as a fish, her tail opalescent in the waters, the sacred sign that spelled her name the same as the sign of her city of Nineveh. They spoke of her as Nana or Nina, and to her they directed prayers so many thousands of years ago. I'll read part of it, this poem. O Nina, lady of the holy rites, lady of precious divine decree, lady who decides the fates, thy word is reliable, it excels above all else. Prophetess of deities art thou, sovereign of the lands art thou. So this is stuff that Merlin had to have found in those some of those sacred texts. This poem in particular, so this stuff is, no one else is bringing this stuff up. And she was a scholar with a degree, and she wouldn't just make it up. She wouldn't write this stuff unless she had some very veritable, actual, factual documents to go by. So there you go. Here we see that there's a connection again here with the serpent goddess and the fish goddess, that they are one and the same. What is the word I'm thinking of? The Nagas. The Nagas are a serpent type creature, a godlike creature that is said to have, there's mention of it in the Vedas, in the waters between, is it Ceylon and India? No, it's not Ceylon. I'm not remembering exactly. There's a little island off the tip of India. And there's a passage that speaks about one of the princesses of India. The Naga came up to stop the boats, and the princess held out her hand and said some words and defeated the Naga. But this is definitely indicating that the creature is obviously being very high and kind and loving. So I think they're talking about an Atlantean queen. That's what I think they're talking about. Okay. At the same time, we're talking about Nidaba, another form. At the same time, living in the starry skies. Her 7 arms holding the 7 tablets. She is the designer of the 50 decrees of righteousness. Her laws for living written as arrangements of the stars upon her heavenly tablets of the darkest blue of lapis lazuli. Okay. Holy One of the Reed, Holy One of Wisdom, is there a knowing mortal upon this earth who can write a line, a phrase, a word, and remember her sacred being without thoughts of gratitude? Okay, so I'm not going to go into all the stuff, because there's just so much. It's not just about how the goddess portrayed herself, but how the things that she did, and how they taught their children. Okay, we're not going to go into testimony. Here we are, about Erech and Innanna. The boat, they told us, this is the tale that was said, that I started this whole thing. The tale they told was that Innanna had one day stepped into the boat of heaven and sailed south upon the wide Euphrates from her home in Erech until she reached the watery abyss of Enki's shrine in Eridu. Okay, Erech is in round where Persia is now. Eridu is said to be further south, and in this rendition, it's underwater, so it's quite likely somewhere in the Mediterranean. And I personally think it was very near to Malta, where Malta is now. Entering nervous Enki's home, she had been offered food and drink to appease her possible wrath. Yet it was not Innanna who grew drunk, but nervous Enki who drank more than he served. And in his drunken state, he agreed to give all the gifts of culture, the precious 100 Mies, to the mighty goddess so she could take them back to Erech. So in other words, he took them in the first place. Against his mother and his wife's opinions. Arranging the 100 Mies safely for the journey back into the boat, Innanna stepped. Hardly had she started north to Erech when Enki changed his mind and sent a group of monsters of the sea to attack the boat of heaven of Innanna, to return the 100 Mies to Eridu and Enki. With the help of loyal assistant Ninshubur, Innanna fought the monsters off, still piloting the boat along its course, all the while shouting angry curses at the god of Eridu for his sudden change of mind, for his daring to reclaim what he had freely given, and most of all for launching his attack upon the open waters without warning. So furiously did they defend the boat that with Ninshibur's help, Innanna drove the monsters from their path and journeyed on towards Erech, finally docking safely at its shores. Thus went the story that was told to explain why those of Erech spoke of the many gifts, the Mies that had been given by Innanna to her people in the city of Erech, weaving in pottery, the sowing and harvesting of grains, justice, truth, and understanding, wisdom, and the laws that guided people, eldership, and sexual rituals, the crook and the scepter, and the priestly office of divine lady. These gifts and many more did Innanna give to Erech. And of course, Enki's followers said the opposite, that she stole them, but that isn't the case. Back to Erech is how he had taken them in the first place. The next part goes into Ereshkigal, which I have already have podcast about. I was looking for more stuff on Namu, and if I come across anything, because she's the oldest one that comes up, and she is a universe creating deity, so according to this, the accounts. So anyway, that's about it for today, and have a wonderful time, you guys. Cheers. Good day.